Hello, and welcome to this instructional video on how to successfully complete the HomeKey Annual Report form. My name is David Egan, and I'm a specialist with the Multifamily Grant Management Branch HomeKey team. This video will review how to complete the Operating Cost tab. This tab must be completed for all projects that became occupied and operational during the 2024 calendar year or prior. If you have general annual report questions, I recommend you watch the first video in the series. And if at the end of these presentations you still have questions, please reach out to your assigned grant management representative and they will be happy to assist you. As a general reminder, this tab is only applicable for projects that were occupied and operational as of December 31st, 2024. To have this tab appear, please first select the appropriate drop-down in the Grantee Certification and Project Status tab, cell C27. You do not need to complete this part of the form if your project was not yet operational or occupied as of December 31st, 2024. Now, looking at the form, this year the operating cost section begins with the annual operating sources. We already know the amount of HomeKey funds that were used this reporting year, as that's automatically drawn from the Expenditure Report tab cell E52, the amount expended for the capitalized operating subsidy this reporting period. In column F, please enter all operating sources for non-HomeKey sources this reporting period. Please report any revenue from rent, tenant assistant payments, rent from stores or commercial sources, garage or parking spaces, flexible spending, and any miscellaneous rent revenue. In the operating funding sources area, in column D, please enter the name of each non-HomeKey operating fund source, and then the corresponding amount for each in column F. Once entered, the total annual operating sources for this reporting period is calculated in cell G26. You should have already gathered supporting documentation for any expenditures made with HomeKey operating funds when completing the Expenditure Reports tab. You do not need to provide supporting documentation for non-HomeKey sources outside of the name and amount for each in this tab. In the second section of the Operating Cost tab, we have the Annual Operating Expenditures, which is the breakdown of the expenditures made by line item. Please enter the expenditures by line item under each category. These line items should be familiar as they are the same line items from the HomeKey application that your project submitted. Please report on your operating expenditures by these line items. We require that you break down the expenditures made for this reporting period by, in column E, documents operating expenditures that used HomeKey funds for this reporting period. In column F, you're going to document expenditures for operating that were from non-HomeKey sources this reporting period. Column G will be the total of both. This breakdown is very important to the department as it greatly assists our reporting requirements for the HomeKey program. Please break down these two amounts, and again, the supporting documentation you provided as a result of the Expenditure Report tab must back up all HomeKey funds documented in the Operating Costs tab for this reporting period. And finally, the Operating Cost and Cash Flow section. This section auto-populates the totals for operating sources and expenditures. G91 lists all operating sources. G92 will list all expenditures. And then in G93 is the difference between the operating sources and the operating expenditures. If your project has more operating income than expenditures this reporting period, the total will be a positive number that will turn green. If your project has a negative amount during this reporting period, meaning that it has less income than expenditures, this number will turn red. In cell E94, please provide a narrative whether your project has a surplus or not, and explain how the excess funds would be applied to the project if there's a surplus, and if there is not a surplus, please explain how your project plans to stabilize operations. It is important that all HomeKey projects are feasible for the entire term of their project. This concludes the Operating Cost tab segment for the 2024 HomeKey Annual Report. If you have questions about any of the other parts of this report, please refer to the video segments that apply, starting with the Grantee Certification and Project Status tab video. If you still have questions, you may reach out to your assigned grant management representative and they'll be happy to assist you. Thank you for your time.